Welcome to this week's Cirak Live, your home for weekly stillness, clarity, and honest answers. We have many beautiful submissions today. We loaded them up into the system. I haven't actually read the questions because the most honest answer, the most channeled response comes when even I see them for the first time. So it's always a pleasure to experience everything real time. And that's really what we're here to do everywhere in life. The moment we plan, the moment we try to imagine and project and anticipate and expect, we shut down that flow. We take a little bit of the aliveness out of it. And if we plan too much, then we really cut ourselves off. A little planning is okay, but you can tune into that. It's not meant to be a black and white truth. It's tuning into what's true for you, starting to experiment, starting to play with life, showing up, responding to what's there, perhaps choose a situation that isn't so mission critical, and then see what happens. So maybe get together with some friends, and instead of always, perhaps like in the past where you had a plan, this time you're just going to let it unfold. See what happens naturally, organically. If you are planning a travel, I've spoken to so many people, myself included, who once you start to just buy your tickets, but go there wherever the destination is and let it unfold from there, that's when the magic happens. Then the trips usually become much more than you could have imagined. Because if we just plan everything out, plan where we were going to go, there's no surprise in that. We're not letting room for serendipity to happen. We're not actually as alert once we get there. We've already created certain ideas, certain expectations in our head, a visual of what to expect. And then we're not actually living the realness, the aliveness of the moment. We're living through our projections, our expectations of it that perhaps formed many weeks and months before. So there's a completely different experience of life that sets in when we show up and respond to what's already there. We don't have to make it up. We don't have to fear it. We don't have to create it. It's already there. That's what presence is. And each moment of presence is a gift. It's a gift from the unknown. It's a gift from source. It's a gift from the life forces that are so vast and so infinitely creative that they put together every situation anew. No two situations are alike ever, for you or in the history of time. And that's a beautiful thing. We don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to try and control it. If we do, we just keep ourselves small and keep our experience of life limited. Start experimenting with it, and then you'll feel it, you'll taste it yourself. And then with greater awareness moving forward, you can still let the mind say what it wants to say. It might say, oh, we should plan more. We need to know what's going to happen. We need to anticipate, everything that could go wrong. But usually when you focus on things that can go wrong, they're more likely to happen because we're giving it our attention. That which we give our attention to, we become. And so riding a bike down the street and you see a pothole or a cone and you want to avoid it, you can actually feel yourself drifting towards it. That's how powerful our attention is. So we really want to be vigilant in what we give our attention to. And if you're spending hard-earned money and time, precious time that we have on this planet, and to attend an event or go somewhere, don't rob yourself of the magic of it by over-planning and oversteering. A little bit is okay, but feel it out for yourself. And then next time you'll be wiser, you'll be smarter, you'll have a felt knowing of your truth, your degree of comfort, and then you can go from there. It's so important in life to create baselines around what we can achieve, what we're comfortable with. Most of our struggles come from overshooting what we think we can do, over-promising, controlling too much, and then we fail. And the experience is too much, or we can't follow up with what we promised. And every promise, be it with your boss, be it to a partner, is still ultimately a contract with ourselves. When you say you're going to do something, it's a contract with yourself. And when you break that contract because you overpromised, then that's a violation of your own contract with yourself. And how does that make us feel? Not good. And it resets us. It brings us back down to square one. I always say, I call this achievable goals. Promise something that you know 100% you can deliver, and then deliver it. And it builds a sense of what's called self-efficacy, of confidence that in yourself you know what you're capable of, and others will start relying on you more and giving you more responsibility because you follow up. And now you have a baseline, you know what you're capable of, you trust yourself more. And so you're able to communicate that energy of trust out to others. And you can now, knowing what your baseline is, promise more of what you know you're capable of. And this is how you can build your entire life on confidence, on self-trust, on what situations you know you can engage with, and a little more maybe. And then suddenly you build momentum in self-worth. And that's what so many of us need and want and deserve, because we are worthy, we are whole, ultimately, under all that noise and under all those layers, conditioning, programming. Most of it is not our stuff. But as we peel back those onion layers of the self, the illusion of self, then we become more in touch with our true divinity, our true wholeness, our true miracle of our existence. And that frees us up to be part of the unfolding of life, to be part of co-creation. It's a very different life when we live from that place than when we live from the isolation, the loneliness of a perceived little human, little me, as I call it. All right. We have a special episode today. The latest book just went live. It just hit Amazon. And so I wanted to spend a little time catching everyone up to speed. It's hot off the press. Haven't even been able to post it in various groups yet. But those who are watching here get to hear about it first. And then after that, we'll get to the chat. I see many comments already. And we'll talk about the upcoming retreat and event in Bombay as well. So we'll cover all of that today, and we'll end it in a mind thought awareness meditation, as always. So here's the cover of the new book. I'm just going to read from the back cover, the back jacket. What if the world isn't falling apart, but falling back into place? What if crisis is not the failure of order, but the mechanism by which order is restored? In this timely and lucid work, Cirak offers a groundbreaking perspective that life itself is not chaotic, but self-correcting, and that humanity is moving not towards collapse, but toward truth. God as a conservative is neither political nor religious. It's a vision of how the universe protects what is real, dissolves what is false, and brings every living system, personal, cultural, and spiritual, back into alignment with its original design. This is not a call to control the future or a plea to return into the past. It is a reminder of what was never lost and an invitation to participate in its return without resistance, illusion, or fear. This was the culmination of over 2 years of observing patterns that go beyond just self-development, beyond the typical spiritual path that we're on. It encompasses the journey of humanity, and in particular because of just current times when we experience an inversion of a sort of truth, where suddenly things that are dark are called light, and suddenly things that were untouchable sacred truths are dismissible and disposable and optional. The book really outlines, it's about 200 pages, outlines the difference between a world that is mind-based, that is based on systems that come from the mind-identified space, and that is what we largely experience around us. It touches education and medicine and politics and government and different ways in that mind identification expresses itself. And then it juxtaposes that, contrasts that with the state of God consciousness, as I call it. So the connected state, the aligned state, the living from that gap state, the gap between where the unknown becomes known, where the unknowable becomes tangible. In that moment of pure presence, the co-creative space, how do we create a world from there, and what does that look like? So it's a broader book for a broader audience, not just those who are necessarily on the spiritual path. So it's a gift that sparks thought, that perhaps stirs up more traditional thinking, ingrained thinking, and brings a new consciousness, a new perspective to how we can live and what difference we can make starting now. It's available everywhere on Amazon, and I think in India as the Kindle version. More locations will be, bookstores will be announced soon, and I believe you can find all of that if you go to my book link down there at the bottom. All right. I also want to announce a couple events and get that out of the way for those who can't stay for the entire thing. We have a wonderful team and group of blessed beings that are organizing events in Bombay. And the next one is next weekend, Sunday the 14th. I'm going to show this. Hopefully it's large enough on your screen. So anyone who's in the Bombay area, please join. Seats are limited. It's by invitation only. The number to RSVPs is on there. And if you yourself are not there, but you know somebody who would benefit from this type of live, Cirak live talk, but actually in person, please forward this. Please let them know. Anything, as always, you can find an admin in the WhatsApp group that you're presumably part of, or through the contact form on Cirak.com, and get the information. Sometimes it happens so quickly and spontaneously that we lag in putting it up on our events page. Right there. But the last week's event was fantastic, and that's what sparked creating another one for the upcoming weekend. So looking forward to seeing those of you who are in the Bombay area in person live very soon. All right. We have some wonderful questions that were submitted. So I'm going to check the chat now. put this up on the stage if we can. All right. Many people struggle because they intellectually understand spiritual teachings, but can't apply it consistently in daily life. What's the key to turning insight into actual transformation? Beautiful question. It reminds me of the observation that those who are on the path of doing inner work and self development and transformation, that they start looking at this world and wonder why there isn't more consciousness in the world. This wisdom has been around for thousands of years. So you'd think it would have taken more hold by now. The thing about wisdom is, as long as it's just in the head, and just like the question said, as long as it's just at the intellectual level, it doesn't really sink in. And by sinking in, I mean sink into the body. We can read all the information we want. We can hang out with people and thought leaders and philosophers all we want. But as long as it's just intellectual, it isn't really felt truth. Real truth is a resonance. It's not a mental knowing. It's not like, yeah, I believe that. The mind is very fickle. Those of us who meditate know. And if we just believe something, it's nothing more than an opinion. And opinions, all kinds of sayings around those, right? Everyone has one. But when you feel something, when you feel the truth about something, you resonate with it internally in your body. So the key is to expose yourself to information. Of course, that's great. Intellectually get it. Yes, that's important. That's necessary. But there has to be some kind of practice for it to become real for you. And that's where meditation or journaling or going for walks in nature or playing with a pet, it can be any number of things. You can find that same peace and that same focus and concentration in anything that you do, as long as you do it in stillness. So if your mind is wandering while you're doing the dishes, of course, then you'll just stress out because you're thinking about your next to-do list or the regrets from the past. But if you can stay still, observe through your senses, the water, the touch of the soap, the dishes, you're actually creating a space, an opening for insight to arise. That insight is from within. And that is what the present moment is. When you connect with your senses, you are connecting with what is happening right now. And that's the key to unlocking the resonance from within. And the answers will just come to you. They will just arise on their own because you're creating the space through presence, through stillness. So the activity is almost irrelevant. You can find that stillness in almost everything. If you're driving, of course, you want to focus on the road. But even there, that focus, that attention will lead to insights. So the important thing, as always, and I did this too, is expose yourself to information, but you need to practice something around that, an intentional creating of stillness and space in your life. And then from there, the things that matter will call you to them. There's lots of information, lots of techniques. For a long time, I did a breathing method by Dr. Andrew Weil, W-E-I-L. But also just guided meditations. Pop those on at night before you go to bed. Something that brings back alignment, that brings you back to truth. And that can even just be one conscious breath. So it's actually not that hard to realign and find back to that stillness. It's there at every turn. It's ever present, even when you're waiting in line at the coffee shop or at the elevator. So thank you for that question. Oh, thank you for, yes, the new book. All right. Next one here. Why do emotional patterns, trauma resurface even after years of inner work? Beautiful question. It's not so much that they resurface, it's that you now have access to a deeper place. You were whoever you were back then when it happened, and you did the work around that over time. And it's very common to feel like you got it out of your system, you healed it, and then at some later point, it gets triggered again. It gets triggered not because you didn't do the work, but because you could only access a certain depth at the time. And now you're a deeper person. Time has gone by. Life continues to test us. Life continues to deepen us in maybe other ways, sometimes seemingly unrelated. But there's more depth to you now, more awareness. So now you have greater, deeper access to areas that you didn't have before. And so trauma is in our cells. It's at the level of bone and blood and breath. And with greater awareness, you can now access what remnants, what leftovers there might be. And that's a good thing. So there's no need to get down on yourself or become self-critical that you didn't do the work back then. You did to the capacity that you were able to. And now you have a greater capacity. So you go back to that place, notice the sensations, whatever comes up, it doesn't matter when it happened, why it happened, who caused it, how long ago. All that matters is the reality of what you're feeling right now, sensations that you can experience right now. That's what's real. And you hold space for them. You bring the light of your awareness there. And I have meditations that that we can do together, or that I can send you, that help you stay present in a non-judgmental, in a neutral way with those stuck feelings, so that you can release them once and for all. All right. I have another one here. What advice would you give someone who feels stuck or lost on their path? So the stuckness, the lostness is the path. It's the mind that thinks there needs to be something that is evident and clear and obvious, and is a sign that you did the work and now you can see the results. The path is much more ingenious than that. So if you need to learn as part of your curriculum what stillness is, you might experience boredom. If you need to experience as part of your curriculum what patience is, you might experience procrastination. There are so many different ways life is a teacher, and whatever we're experiencing is the curriculum, is the lesson, is what we need to learn at that time. So the feeling of being stuck is teaching you how to step back, perhaps not push so much, not steer, right? It's very tricky how the mind likes to take action and start pursuing something, an outcome or a goal. So a big pillar, big piece of our journey is to no longer be so outcome driven. So the idea of that I'm stuck right now goes exactly in reference to that. And learning to relax is how you come out of outcome-based thinking. Learning to accept, this is where I am right now. This is how I feel right now. I feel stuck. And the moment you accept that, you can feel the energy soften. You can feel your whole being lighten up, and you can feel yourself moving forward. So in the acceptance of I feel stuck, you actually release yourself from that, from the resistance to that, which is really just a resistance to your feeling. There's nothing bigger to it, nothing more complicated to it. And then it automatically, the release of your resistance moves you forward, and you become unstuck. And that stuckness can show up in so many different ways. It was going to be a recurring lesson because we are so mind driven. We are so conditioned to set a goal, create a plan, expect a certain outcome, and then compare what is happening to what we think should be happening, what we want to have happened. And that is one of the big lessons on our journey, is to show up, respond to what's there, actually collaborate with the unknown, become a co-creator, a facilitator, a participant in life happening. All right, good stuff. Let's see what else we have here today. As we're going through some huge transformative time right now, as many astrologists and spiritual teachers say, oops, or is this the ending of something or maybe the beginning of something? Okay. This actually goes to what I talk about in the new book. And I don't want to give away too much because you should read the book. And it also doesn't do the message service to try and simplify it down to a 1 minute response when there's 300 pages, 200 pages, sorry, that go into much greater detail. But the overall message is that everything has its purpose. And even the darkest darkness has the reason to expose the brightest light to us. So thinking in beginnings and endings is a little bit dualistic. Even cause and effect keeps us stuck in this linear thinking, right? That's the mind thinking that if I do something, then there will be a response. When life is much more creative, it's much more circular. When we don't resolve a certain stuckness, for example, a certain lesson, it will keep coming back in different ways until we learn. So the circular nature, the recurring nature, the mirror of life is closer to reality. And in fact, that mirror is something that eventually dissolves and falls away completely. So we're always just seeing ourselves, the false reality we've created, we've inherited, we've been imprinted with. And as we work through those layers, those ripples that distort the objective reality that's behind the mirror, then we can actually access and see life as it is. And that's when true flow starts to happen. That's when we no longer live through the self, but live through higher consciousness. So it's not so much about beginnings and endings, but recognizing patterns within ourselves and patterns globally, and never seeing it as I'm a problem or I need to fix myself or I need to get somewhere, but rather seeing it as, what is this showing me? What higher intelligence is using this to send a message, to send me a lesson? And that can be everything from as simple as feeling stuck or feeling bored. There's what's actually behind that, to global movements that are of more collective nature. So always dig deeper. There is an endless depth to everything that happens, and find your truth within that, not what others say, not what we read. We can absorb that, but we have to figure it out ourselves so that it becomes our felt truth. And then we get to a place where we realize our personal felt truth is really just an expression of greater consciousness, and that we all share in that place where we're one. All right. Next question. How do we need to act or behave when we see injustice, cruelty in the world? Do we not need to react to it, or do we just let it go, run its course? So again, there's a distinction between reacting to something and seeing it for what it is, seeing it for what it is, as it is. For example, somebody might have limiting beliefs. You might feel injustice is being done, but when you can recognize what's really underneath it, then you can see clearly why it's happening. But it doesn't mean you can't step in to help someone in need, somebody who is, ascribing to scarcity consciousness, somebody who is going through a tough time, somebody who is depressed because they're so attached to their thoughts. Most of the suffering is self-induced. That doesn't mean we shouldn't step in and help somebody when we feel the calling. It's not out of pity. It's not out of a sense of superiority, because we have to be careful about that as well. Oh, I can help you because I can. But no, you recognize this person is going through a tough time because of their thought patterns, because of their inherited beliefs. And you can point that out in a gentle way when appropriate. But that doesn't mean you're passing blame. It just means you see clearly, you speak from clarity, from truth, and you can still act to convey that in a compassionate way. It depends on the specific situation. So without knowing what you're referring to, I can't provide much more detail. But this is the key in all things is, are you coming to the situation from the mind-identified state? Are you reacting? Are you judging? Are you controlling? Are you seeing it through the lens of your story? Or are you coming at it from God consciousness, from clarity, from actual truth, from universal law, seeing things as they are? And that's not cruel ever. It cannot be. There's only love in that approach, whereas the self-centered approach is full of complications. So beautiful question. Checking how we are doing on time here. Okay. I'm going to do a nice meditation today, so we want to make sure to leave enough. We have here, how do we get up to pace with all the frequency shifts that are happening in the universe right now, so that we're not stuck in the old world? And some practical tips. Yes. Many people see, as I did at one point as well, see that we need to make time for this thing called meditation. We need to allot energy and move our schedule around, and it becomes a separate thing. And it's really hard. We all live busy lives. It's hard to fit yet another thing in, and especially mindfulness. It's one of those things that grow gradually over time. It doesn't happen right away. Anyone that sits down on the cushion once or twice may experience some peace, but it very quickly gets overridden by the noise in the world, and then we wind up not doing it again for a while until things get bad enough where somebody reminds us. But rather, you can start doing things that you're already doing with more intention, with more presence, with just a little more noticing. When you can notice things, then you're experiencing them from your awareness. Noticing equals awareness. Identification with thoughts, that's where the complications arise. That's when you get pulled into the smallness of one thought, and we start going down rabbit holes. And we're so monopolized by that one thought that it starts to feed on itself and have other thoughts. And most of our thoughts are actually negative thoughts that aren't real, but so is the mind. It's looking for things that can go wrong. It's looking to keep us safe, but if we're always in our head, it'll constantly look for the next thing that is a threat. And so if we keep getting pulled into these fearful thoughts, then we're not living our fullest life. But when we can start connecting to our activities just a little more, when you get dressed in the morning, tune into how you feel. Pick clothes that are in alignment with that. that already creates an awareness, an open, receiving, connected state that you would otherwise not have. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort to keep ourselves continuously disconnected from source. It's remarkable. We have to constantly be scrolling. We have to constantly be chasing outcomes and going after our to-do lists in order to drown it out, to drown out our inner voice, to keep ourselves disconnected. Little moments of stillness, little moments of presence, little moments of just focusing on your breath. Focus on where the breath touches your skin right below the nostrils. That little moment of conscious breath already brings in presence, already brings in connection. And the more we do that, the more we start living from God consciousness, because our thoughts then no longer dictate our actions. The fear no longer motivates what we plan. If we're living from unconscious patterns, then it's almost certain that all we do is motivated by a subconscious lack, fear, or need for control. And that lack, fear, and need for control is then contained in the outcome, in the things we create, in the situations we produce, in the relationships we manifest. And then it just perpetuates and even amplifies. So the practical tip would be is just to find a few moments here and there are plenty of those, to reconnect with what you're actually doing. In the beginning, don't worry about it. If it's just a second, it will have an effect on inviting greater consciousness. And everyone has at least a second. All right, maybe we can do one more. Oh, here's a topical question. Is AI going to help us with awakening or actually stop our spiritual evolution? There's a whole chapter on that in the new book. There are things that we do not need to worry about that AI will take over. It is still only a reflection. It learns from humans and flaws and all, and it keeps processing and doing that at scale. So if anything, it really just creates an amplified, the current state of human amplification, human consciousness. There are things, however, that we should be careful of, that we don't lose. In the same way that AI can never co-create with source, it doesn't receive insights from the unknown. It cannot sit in stillness. It doesn't have a body to feel inner truth, to feel resonance. It can only repeat and mimic the mind. And in the same way that it will never surpass humans in that area and where it matters, we also have to be careful that it doesn't take over in those areas where we need the uncertainty, we need the unknown, we need to cross each other's paths in ways that we didn't anticipate for that magic to happen, for those co-creative opportunities. And if AI starts making all decisions for us and planning everything out for us, it's no different than just living from the mind, except from a billion computationally amplified minds. So we need to be careful that we don't rob ourselves of the opportunities to engage with the unknown, with the creative source. All right. So I think we'll do our meditation today, unless there's anything else. Let me look at the comments. I have issues with forgiveness. It's difficult for me to forgive people, especially loved ones who broke my trust. Uh, what's the healthiest and mindful way to approach it? Great question. Trust is forgiveness, first and foremost, is not about the other person. We often get caught up on forgiveness as something that we're trying to um, almost send towards, transmit towards whoever hurt us. We're somehow focused on them and trying to find forgiveness in that energy, in that directional focus. Forgiveness is first and foremost within yourself, to no longer carry the energy of what happened. That's what true forgiveness is. So, noticing where the animosity, when you think of this person, where you feel triggered, when you perhaps journaling about the situation that happened recently or decades ago. I see people who are carrying forward a grudge from things that happened in their family in childhood, and it impacts them decades later as adults. It doesn't matter when or where it happened ultimately. The practice, as always, is to notice where you feel that pinch, that trigger in your body from that situation. And then go there, stay with it, spend time with it, hold space for it, let yourself feel. Feel to heal is the saying, but it's a little more delicate than that. You want to give it space. And you'll find that even the biggest traumas can be released in a much bigger, sooner and faster way, more effective way than you thought. Because what has been keeping it there is a resistance to feeling it. And so your resistant energy has built up over time. And that's what most of the fear of this feeling is about, or the difficulty of this feeling is about, the entanglement with this feeling that you're trying to forgive somebody, but you want to get rid of this. And most of that is your resistance to the feeling itself. So no feeling, ultimately, no sensation is so scary that it will just overwhelm you. Very few are. Perhaps some deep, deep traumas where you need more support, or you need to approach it much more gradually. But for most of these things, especially if they've happened long in the past and are no longer active, you can go there right now and be with it. And that will dissolve it. So the forgiveness happens within, from your release, from the hanging on to that energy. And then when you see that person, you will see them clearly. You will see the woundedness that they were acting from, the blind inherited trauma that they got from somebody else, and that they're unfortunately carrying forward. And you learn to not take these things personally, because it's hurt people who hurt people, and it's actually not about you. It's just they're crying out for help. All right. Let's see if we have one more. How do we align ourselves with the spiritual and physical worlds at the same time? So not only we are in the process of awakening and spiritual evolution, but also we have earthly achievements and enjoyments, and we are not behind with everything. So the idea that spiritual and the physical are separate is a myth. We're not here to somehow not live on earth in the material world and kind of deny it all, but rather we can find ourselves in it, in the way we apply ourselves. So the spiritual is not some separate state that you just achieve sitting on a cushion, but it's your natural state, actually, our natural state of engaging with the material world, with the physical world, with other beings, with nature. We are not separate from nature. That's also an illusion of the mind, and something we kind of blindly take on growing up. So being connected is a state that you bring into everything you do, even the little things. And connected is, again, the felt truth, the resonant knowing, and not the mental controlled knowing, the mind identified state. So cultivating God consciousness, a higher connection to your higher self, an awareness of higher intelligence, so that you don't have to figure it all out yourself, will make life on earth in the physical world not just more tolerable, not just more manageable, but actually a paradise. The paradise or the heaven on earth that you see written in some scriptures is right there in front of us. It's our mind that is getting in the way. But you can create an incredibly beautiful relationship to your environment. And of course, that requires setting boundaries to those who are not ready yet, to those who are still too much in their heads about things. That's always going to create friction, and they too will learn. It's a perfect design, really, that the noise from living in your head will eventually drive you out of it and into your body, seeking solutions, seeking a better way. And those of us who already have an inkling or more of what that better way may be, we can create an environment for ourselves that is largely free and safe to really hear and collaborate with greater consciousness. We can create art, we can create music, we can raise families, we can have relationships, we can write books, we can do, we can bring our presence into work, into the supermarket, into travel, into our jobs and everywhere else, and bring that light of awareness without having to put it on anyone, without having to convince everyone, but bring that light everywhere we go. And this is how we create and participate in a renewed earth starting now. So it's not a separate thing. It's just doing things, start doing things that you're already doing more consciously, with a little more presence, and that will take on a life of its own. It's okay to have a meditation hour. It's okay to go pray. It's okay to go to the temple every week or every day, or whatever you have already made time for. But where it really meets the rubber meets the road, as they say, is out in life, and we can be in meditating all day long in a perfectly still, perfectly quiet environment where everything is controlled and there are no distractions. But the real test of it is going back out into life. So remembering that it is a process, that inner peace isn't immune to outer noise right away, but that it will take some time. But it's all up to you, and no one else needs to give their permission for you to work on becoming more aware and living more from your consciousness. All right. Ash, wonderful to see. At long last, it's wonderful to see you here. I think I've seen your message before that you were looking to make it. So, with that said, we're going to move into our meditation phase today. I call this thought awareness. All we have to do is become more aware of our thoughts. Ram Dass, at the end of his life, said that, after everything he went through, everything he tried, all the methods, all the substances, all that stuff, all we really need, all he came down to was anapanasati, and simplified just to becoming more aware of our thoughts. So as always, I'm going to guide you through this meditation. And whenever you notice your mind drifting, that is the key moment where we practice acceptance. That is the key moment where we notice our frustration, that we're unable to control our minds, our busy monkey minds, but to learn to be okay with that. You don't quiet a busy mind by wanting it to be quiet. You quiet a busy mind by accepting that it's busy. All right. Finding a comfortable position. Spine straight, bones stacked. And with your eyes and mouth closed, focus all your attention on the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. There's a sensitive area there below the nostrils and above the upper lip where you can feel your breath. And once you feel the touch of your breath, return to natural breath, normal breath. Let the detail of your breath pull you in closer, closer into the present moment. If your breath is shallow, let it be shallow. If your breath is deep, let it be deep. If it's more in the left nostril, let it be the left nostril. If it's more in the right nostril, let it be the right nostril. Or if it's in both nostrils, let it be both. Notice the temperature of the incoming breath. Notice the temperature of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the pace of the incoming breath. Notice the pace of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the length of the incoming breath. Notice the length of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the pause at the end of your inhale. Notice the pause at the end of your exhale. And notice if there's a difference. And whenever you find that your mind has wandered, simply notice it. And without frustration, without dismay, but with full acceptance, bring your attention back to the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. Natural breath. Normal breath. Observe your breath as it is, without wanting it to be different. And with that, gradually bring your attention back to the room that you're in, the weight of your body on the surface, clothes on your back, sounds around you, near and far. And when you're ready, gradually blinking open your eyes. Noticing your environment. Noticing the fidelity of your senses. Noticing your peace, your presence, and your stillness. Stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of consciousness, the one consciousness. That concludes today's session. As always, stay connected, stay present. See you next time.